for finance, and I've made that known to him on his policy on banking. I think that is collapsing the local banks, because by not paying arrears of service providers, contractors, and the rest, and holding back, they are definitely going to have difficulty in retiring their credits in the various banks. Okay. But that is not all. He has increased the minimum capital from 120 million Ghana cedis to over 400, in fact, over 450 million Ghana cedis. And it's giving them up to the end of this year to be able to raise that money, or their license will be withdrawn. You look at the size of our economy. Do we need mega banks in Ghana? Big banks? I don't think so. I think we need small to medium scale banks,
to mobilize
so that they'll be able to mop up the liquidity even from the rural areas. I agree with him that the number of banks, I think now the last one being the BH, would have gone to the figure of 35 banks in Ghana. That is quite large. But in trying to reduce that number to manageable level, he has to take into consideration the size of the economy and the level of production. And so what is happening is that foreigners will come in to buy our banks. Because they have the huge capital. They have a lot of money floating outside there. And once they are able to buy our banks, it means that they will be controlling the banking sector. And the partner controlling the banking sector controls the economy. And so we will be working, they will be getting the profits, and they will be expatriating the profits outside Ghana. And so it will not be beneficial to Ghanaians. Okay. I have made this known to him. He gave some explanation. He thought that he could raise enough money from the bonds to be able to pay arrears. And I'm sure he'll be looking at the minimum capital, because I'm aware the banking sector is writing a petition to His Excellency the President on this issue. And so the stakeholders are not happy, and they will be working on that. That is another area that we have to look at.
However, let's look at the appointment of Mr. Martin Amidu as the special prosecutor. Well, what is your take on that?
Well,
it's somebody that you know very well, I believe.
It's a difficult one. We all abhor corruption. Nobody will want to see corruption blossom in our society. And so the attempt by any government to contain it is a welcome event.
And you think he's the right person to help contain corruption in Ghana?
You know, for me, prevention is better than cure. Human beings by nature are prone to corruption. You know, it's more attractive to do the bad things. Yeah. Because we are moved by flesh, we enjoy the wrong things. Okay? And so it's important you put in place a system that will prevent you from going that way. The developed countries have been able to do that. Now, the whole country, before His Excellency Nana came into power, came out with a whole plan called the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. That plan came to Parliament. Parliament debated and approved that plan. And that plan was what was being implemented. And that was to prevent people corrupting others or corrupting themselves. Now, the problem of corruption in Ghana is not one of prosecution. If it had been so, this is not even the step to take.
One of prevention. Is it one of prevention?
It's one of prevention, because there are a number of things that we're doing that are encouraging corruption. Even the process to getting elected into political office. Okay? You now have a large army of youth following potentials and trying to get their bit, and they sometimes call that season their cocoa season. Okay? As you decide to harvest from the potential office holder, when he gets in the office, what do you expect him to do?
You also harvest from somewhere.
You understand? And so what they've done outside is to put a system in place to reduce the cost of getting into political office by making sure that the individual is not the one that takes about 90-something% of the cost. We have to look at that, okay? Because when you offer yourself to serve the nation, which is what political office is all about, or public office is all about, you are not the one to take care of the cost, because it's not a private business, okay? The public has to support, the state led by the government has to support. There are other stakeholders in political office holdings that should come in to contribute. And so I believe that we need to relook at that. The cost of politics is too high. And that's why people are now calling it monocracy, not democracy. I think that the attempt at appointing a special prosecutor, and I made this known on the floor of the House, is not the answer to fighting corruption in Ghana. Even if His Excellency wanted, he would have appointed an Attorney General with the status of a Minister of State. There's nothing preventing any government from doing that. The Constitution doesn't say the President cannot do that. You can appoint a Minister for Justice, and that is all. And then you appoint an Attorney General and give that Attorney General the status of a minister. And so the Attorney General will not be working under the Minister for Justice. As it is now, the Special Prosecutor is not independent. The Special Prosecutor will be working under the Minister for Justice. There is an attempt to clothe that office with autonomy. How far that goes in implementation, we are all yet to see. But the gentleman, Martin Amidou, have shown and proved to all that is really a citizen vigilante. It is just that some time ago he was carried away into coming out to say that he will do everything possible to hit at NDC. That means that his emotions carry him away. I hope he will allow reason now to prevail. Apart from that, he's made us feel that he's totally against the former president, John Dramani Mahama. It's like he has some issues to pick with him. And we will not be surprised that he will go looking for what is not there in order to persecute. And so we'll be moving away from prosecution to persecution. And I hope that it will not only be for the past regime, it will also be for the current regime. Again, when I heard His Excellency the President say that he wants Martin Amidou to put the fear of the Lord on his ministers, I think that is not right. Okay, the appointment of the Special Prosecutor is not to put fear in any person, not at all. If that is the aim, then it's better to use the security agents, not a Special Prosecutor.
Because they have the logistics, they have the guns,
yes, and they can put fear into people. We have the rule of law, and when people make allegations against you, you go through that process. And don't forget, as a good lawyer, Nana is a very good lawyer, he's aware that the proof beyond reasonable doubt has a very high bar to satisfy. And so it's not a matter of allegations, it's a matter of the production of evidence before a court of competent jurisdiction. And that is not an easy task at all. So, well, I wish Martin Amidou all the best. We will be there to support. We want to see corruption reduced to its barest minimum. It's a global cancer, and everybody is struggling to bring it down because of its disastrous effect on society and on the individual. I've been part of the global campaign against corruption, and I've attended so many anti-corruption conferences, and I've learned a lot and have a lot of material on that. And we know, in fact, one conference I attended with Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and he knows that these are not the way to go. It cannot be fought by an individual or a group of people. Corruption cannot be fought by a government alone. It must be fought by the people. And the appetite for corruption in Ghana is too high.
Okay.
We have to reduce that appetite.
Okay. Honorable, he appeared before the Appointment Committee of Parliament on February 13. What are your expectations?
Well, I expect my colleagues to do a good job. They will throw a number of questions. I know Martin will be in the position to answer the questions, but some of the questions will be, I'm sure, very tough for him. Okay? Because if you want to come in clean, you yourself must be clean. Okay? He who goes to equity goes with clean hands. Yeah. And so they will try to test him, and they may spend a lot of time asking him questions. I'm sure he'll be prepared for that. You see, and it's not going to be just Martin Amidu. They'll have to appoint the deputy, and they'll have to appoint additional staff. We have to give them the necessary logistics, and we have to resource them. The challenge of the Aegis department all over the years is the lack of resources. You see state attorneys walking to court, sweating, you know.
So people want to go into private practice rather than work for the state? Well,
that is the right place to be. Well, that's where you're able to put the bread and butter together. And so it's not encouraging to join the bench or to go to the Attorney General's department. And we need to look at that and make them more attractive. We need more hands in the judiciary.
Okay.
And we need to look at the conditions of service for judges and for the attorneys. If we are able to do that, and we are able to strengthen those institutions and give them the necessary logistics, they will do a very good job. But as it is now, that proves beyond reasonable doubt. It's a tall order for many of the prosecutors.
Okay.
Particularly so as we use the police in doing many of our investigations. They have not been trained adequately enough to have the capacity to be able to adduce evidence to usually prosecute. We need the Attorney General to take over all these cases, but the numbers are not there.
Okay.
And so we need to look at that.
Honorable, you want to contest the 2020 elections on the ticket of the NDC. What should we expect, and what are you going to do differently from what the previous government did?
Well, I'm not going to showcase my manifesto, but I can tell you that over the years, I've had the opportunity of whispering to a number of governments as to some things that I think we could easily do, what the bankers refer to as low fruits, that we could pluck on our own without looking outside for support.
Okay.
I don't think people are doing that. Let me just cite an example. The conditions of service of the political class is completely out of the norm, and we have to look at it. We just continued an enhanced condition of service when our colonial masters were leaving our shores, and we were left with nobody to manage the public sector. And so our first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, decided to enhance their conditions of service to attract some to stay. That is why we've continued up to date. And I don't think it's proper. There are a lot of things that we can do to get money into the hands of the ordinary citizen, so that the ordinary citizens will not be looking up to the politicians for survival.
Because they think the politicians are taking so much.
Oh yes, yes. That is a right view of the general populace. I think that we need to do something about that. Again, we have to do something about our housing policy. We have to do something about our transport policy. We have to even do something about our health sector. And I think having served in those ministries and having also been in government for all these years, having had the opportunity, not only in Ghana, but in the globe, trotting around, learning from systems, exchanging ideas, working in government, leading my political party, I think I have gathered enough leadership capital to be able to offer myself to Ghanaians to serve the nation. That is the main reason. I still cannot understand why, after all these efforts, we are not being able to eliminate poverty. Okay? In some countries, they say eradicate poverty. And we are still talking about poverty reduction, sometimes using the term alleviation. There's enough for everybody in the world, and particularly Ghana. We are so blessed. Not blessed just with the commodities, no, but with the human resource. Because as for commodities like the natural resources, they are not the things that make a country wealthy or rich. It's the human resource. And I always cite Israel. If it had been so, it would have been one of the poorest countries in the world. But they don't have anything. Sometimes a whole year, they don't have a single rain, yet they don't lack water. There's water for not only the house, but also for the farms. And so something is missing in the leadership of this country. We have to look at it. We have a lot of people who are waiting to support, but we like running solo when we are in government. It's only the government that is right, any other person is wrong. You cannot go that way. We have people who, for some reason, have not joined the politics because they believe politics is a dirty game. But I always say, it's not politics that is a dirty game. It's the people in the politics that are playing a dirty game. It's not the politics itself. And so if we are able to get refined person into politics, politics will change its character and everything. But because of the stone throwing, because of the mud slinging, many people are taken away from joining. And I think that if we are able to clean the stables, we can get more clean hands to join politics and make it something beneficial to the society. And so there are a lot of things that we can do by ourselves and not looking for foreign assistance. Well, we all know that the World Bank, the IMF, has never supported any country to develop. And yet, we are always relying on them. For what? To manage our economies for us. When our own are working with the World Bank, they are working with the IMF, where we have a lot of brains here, professors, experts in various fields. We have to rely on the young ones from the World Bank and the IMF. I think that's not the right way to go.
Okay. But some NDC functionaries that I've had occasion to talk to or interview are clamoring for the return of former President John Dramani Mahama. You think that you have been able to amass a lot of supporters from your party to be able to unseat him or win an election when he decides to contest you for the 2020 election?
Well, don't forget that the former president was a vice president for 3 years, almost 7 months. And then he became president for 5 months before the 2012 elections. Then he got 4 good years as president. So definitely, he would have inured himself to the rank and file of our party. But at the end of the day, the loss that we experience is inexplicable.
So you blame it solely on the former president?
No, not solely. At least we've done some scientific work. The Professor Kwesi Bochwe Committee have come out with a report that has drawn findings on many evidence that has come before the committee. And you cannot blame totally the loss on the former president. Others contributed. Okay? But at the end of the day, the right thing was what he did, to come out to admit that it is my fault because I led all of you. And so at the end of the day, when you are praising me for having chalked these successes, I should be the one also to accept blame when things have gone wrong. And so things went wrong. Now, the winning team, which I'm leading, is just started.
Okay. And
so we haven't reached out to all the nooks and creeks of Ghana. I'm sure by the time we do that, we have surmounted the leadership role that they have. Now we know they are in the lead. And in fact, the research by the University of Ghana has shown that at the end of 2017, he had the leadership of about 58%. Okay. If I'm to believe that figure, it meant that his leadership is waning because at the beginning, we were all behind him, and so he had something like 100%.
Yeah.
If that 100% has reduced to 58% within a year, this year, I'm sure it will reduce below 40.
Or it can even go up.
Well, I don't know what he will do again to bring it up. I know they will have difficulty in coming out with a message. But we are on the move now. But we haven't reached the time that we'll come out with a declaration.
Okay.
Well, we believe we need more than 3 months to be able to market ourselves to contest properly in December this year. And that's what we're doing.
Your final word for the numerous NDC sympathizers and supporters who are watching us this morning before you take leave of us?
Well, so far, so better. Those that I've met have been very warm, and we've exchanged ideas with civility. I mean, they are very loyal and committed members, especially those on the ground. They are unyielding, and they are hungry to go back to power.
Okay.
I want to assure them that leadership will do everything to provide the requisite leadership for us to win the 2020 election. I have told them that after the 2020 election is not negotiable. NDC has got to win that election.
Okay.
And we are prepared to give our colleagues in government the run for their money. And I am anticipating that I'll be leading the party to do so.
Okay.
All others are welcome. It's a family contest. It's not a war. And so we should try as much as possible to reduce the insults, the invectives, the mudslinging. It won't help any person.
Okay.
But you can draw the attention of my shortcoming to our fellow members of the party so that they don't make a mistake. It's important we do that.
Okay.
When you are drawing the shortcomings, you are not insulting the person. Let's focus on the truth, because it's the truth that will set us free.
Okay.
I want to thank all of them, and particularly the good people of Kumasi. Anytime I'm here, I enjoy myself. And I want to thank the leadership, particularly Otumfuo himself, for that good leadership he's giving, not only Ashanti, but for the whole country. I thank you for this opportunity too.
Thank you very much. When are you leaving Kumasi? Are you leaving today?
Oh, no. No, but I'll be there tomorrow in Parliament to listen
because
to
of the okay, so
yes.
We wish you all the best, and we wish you safe trip back to Accra tomorrow.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you very much for passing through.
You're welcome.
Okay, any Honorable Alban Bagbin that you come more kakra niema bebree na said the all can so obetina Kumasi kakra, but ame bo china de so parliament house so china is excellency the president or the state of the nation address no or kwa parliament say ba me say oh the all can e obrofo mu nyina na da na ho kakra bia be ba e bo modern say meet ba kwa na mi me bo no top as the be ya ma mo hwe amanti the all can at least most bet me at the all can say so you don't know how about it.